I walked into the grand hall, the glittering chandeliers reflecting off crystal glasses, expecting the warmth of family smiles and familiar hugs. Instead, I was met with icy stares slicing through the air, and a shiver ran down my spine. Whispers flitted like shadows. "Your auntie? She'll fold under pressure." My chest tightened. I searched the crowd, and there she was. Grace. My aunt. Standing tall, a pillar amidst the sea of judgment, yet I could see the tension knotted in her shoulders. Her eyes scanned the room with quiet calculation, missing nothing. A drunken cousin staggered toward her, voice slurred, mocking. "Fragile, overdramatic. That's your auntie, right?" Laughter erupted, a cruel orchestra around us, and I felt shame curling in my chest like smoke. Grace's hands trembled ever so slightly, but her posture didn't waver. She held herself with a composure that almost made the insults ricochet harmlessly off her. Then someone bumped into her, deliberately, and her drink sloshed across her wrist. Giggles erupted like sharpened knives cutting through the air. I saw her lips tighten, jaw clenched, and in that brief flicker of silence, I caught the blaze of fury hiding beneath the calm. A snide voice called out about her failures, weaving them into years of whispered family gossip. I could feel the weight of it pressing down on her, a pressure meant to break her, yet she stood firm. And then it happened. An ex-friend, grinning maliciously, announced a personal secret of hers, loud enough for every corner of the room to hear. My stomach dropped. I froze, powerless. Every chuckle, every pointed look, every subtle jab cut through me like glass, but Grace did not falter. She turned away, shoulders straight, leaving the murmurs hanging in the air, dangling like unanswered accusations. The room was silent for a heartbeat, eyes following her, startled by the calm she carried. I followed at a distance, heart pounding, chest heavy with a mix of anger and awe. Seeds of doubt had already begun to take root in my mind. How easily loyalty could be twisted, how quickly cruelty could bloom in familiar faces. I saw someone try to provoke her further, leaning in with a smirk, whispering words meant to sting. Grace looked at them, coldly, unflinching, and walked past without a word. The silence she left behind was louder than any shout, heavier than any insult. I realized then, watching her vanish into the shadows of the hall, that this was only the beginning. The fire inside her was quiet, but it would burn everything down when the time came. I remember the day my world shifted, the moment my parents were gone and Grace became everything. Mother, protector, fortress. She carried me through those early years with hands rough from work, eyes weary from sleepless nights, yet always unwavering. I saw her juggling 2, sometimes 3 jobs, coming home to a tiny apartment that smelled faintly of laundry soap and exhaustion, her hands shaking from fatigue, but her face set with determination. Neighbors whispered behind her back. Relatives judged her choices, called her incapable, as if raising a child alone was some kind of spectacle to mock. I remember hearing the threats, the murmurs that followed her wherever she went. And yet, in the dead of night, when the world was silent, I could hear her soft sobs alone in the kitchen, mourning betrayals that cut deeper than any financial strain. School events became trials of their own. I remember the early humiliations, her standing in the back, clapping for me while enduring whispered taunts, sidelong glances, mocking laughter. Bullies would corner me, and she'd step in, shielding me with her own body, absorbing their insults silently, letting no one see her pain. Then there was the business partner, the one who promised loyalty but stole her ideas, leaving her nearly bankrupt. I watched the color drain from her face, the fire in her eyes replaced with cold calculation as she picked up the pieces. And the family member who tried to manipulate her legally, someone I once trusted, exposed the cracks in her world. She faced it all alone, yet never broke. Her resilience became my blueprint for survival, lessons hidden in quiet moments, in the way she measured every step, every word, every reaction. I understood, even as a child, that her strength was not loud. It was strategic, deliberate, lethal in its patience. I feel the guilt now, remembering how I underestimated her, how easily I thought the world could topple her. Yet, beneath those years of quiet suffering were victories no one knew about. Silent triumphs, subtle reclamations of dignity and power, seeds planted for a reckoning only she could orchestrate. Every shadow of humiliation she endured, every betrayal from a friend, a neighbor, even family stacked upon her like stones. And with each stone, her hunger for justice grew, quiet but insatiable. I can still feel the weight of it, the emotional gravity of knowing that someone you love, someone who gave everything, could be betrayed by anyone. And still, she would rise. Grace moved through the family business with the quiet precision of a predator. She didn't storm in demanding respect. She reclaimed her position inch by inch, word by word, observation by observation. In social gatherings, I watched her lean into subtle manipulations, pointing out hypocrisies in conversations, exposing tiny cracks in relatives' facades with a calm smile that made people pause mid-laugh, unsure if they'd been caught. One evening, a friend of ours posted a damaging rumor online. I expected an explosion, but Grace didn't flinch. She read it, folded her arms, and let the digital poison float harmlessly past her. In the shadows of those moments, I saw her mind at work. Every slight, every injustice, cataloged meticulously, filed away in her mental ledger. Then came an accidental encounter with an old adversary. He smirked, thinking he could provoke her, and something flickered in her eyes, a suppressed rage that had been simmering for years, ready to ignite. Later, she overheard whispers about plans to exploit her inheritance. Most would have panicked, but she kept her composure, a steel line cutting through her features, unreadable, unstoppable. Tension thickened at a charity gala when my cousin publicly dismissed her, trying to humiliate her in front of everyone. Grace's response was a single, poised sentence, sharp and deliberate, that silenced the room. I suppose some people prefer assumptions over truth. The air shifted. I finally saw it. The fire in her eyes, the meticulous planning taking shape like a map for retribution. She began quietly befriending allies among our cousins, gathering intelligence under smiles and casual conversations. Behind closed doors, private confrontations were electric. Her words, calm yet cutting, left the air buzzing. "You'll regret this." Even minor public humiliation attempts backfired, each one absorbed and turned to her advantage with calculated grace. Watching her, I felt my own loyalty tested. Every step, every patient maneuver demanded trust in her strategy, and I did. Hesitantly, but completely. She documented every incident, every betrayal, as if the world itself were her chessboard. People began whispering about her sudden change, unaware that beneath her calm exterior raged an internal storm, precise and implacable, waiting for the moment it would break free. It was just past midnight when the phone rang, piercing the quiet like a blade. Grace answered, her voice calm but alert. An anonymous informant revealed a family secret, one that shook the foundations of what we thought we knew. As she listened, her eyes narrowed, and then, almost imperceptibly, a smile curved her lips. The upper hand, finally, was hers. Soon after, a trusted lawyer friend quietly aligned with her, offering legal support for the confrontation that was now inevitable. The pieces were falling into place, and Grace moved with deliberate patience. But then came the deeper betrayal, from a cousin I never thought capable of deceit. The realization hit her hard, sharper than any insult before. Her past humiliations no longer weighed her down. They fueled her cold, unyielding determination. Every slight, every whispered insult, every past betrayal became the fire driving her next moves. She began orchestrating scenarios with subtlety, crafting public moments where the betrayers would falter, where their masks would crack. I watched her at a small charity event, the first symbolic act of retaliation. She entered the room with grace, poise, and a quiet power that made the aggressors shrink under her gaze. In every gesture, in every word, she outshone them effortlessly. The room's atmosphere shifted. Even the most confident family members seemed off balance, unnerved by her calculated calm. Tension mounted as she prepared for a full-scale confrontation, patience intertwining with strategy. I saw her planning every date, every encounter, every speech like a chess master, anticipating reactions and counter-reactions. Every prior insult, rumor, and betrayal became fuel, feeding a storm that had been brewing for years. Her aura transformed, The woman once seen as a silent victim was now an inevitable force. Eyes followed her in awe and fear. And then the turning point arrived. A public event meticulously chosen for maximum exposure. Everyone would witness her precision, her power, and the reckoning she had long prepared. The storm was no longer quiet. It was here, and no one would escape its reach. The room fell silent as Grace entered the high-profile family gathering. Heads turned, whispers stilled, and all eyes fixed on her. Every step she took radiated authority, a presence impossible to ignore. This was no timid woman. This was a force awakened. She approached the cousin who had spent years undermining her, his smug smile faltering under her gaze. "You've said a lot about me," she began, voice calm but icy. "But let's make sure everyone knows the truth." One by one, she exposed his lies, his schemes laid bare for the entire room to see. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Then came the evidence she had quietly gathered. Contracts, emails, financial records, all revealed with precision. Shock rippled across every face. The whispers of betrayal turned into murmurs of disbelief. She presented the financial manipulations, the betrayals, the calculated lies, leaving no room for escape. The aggressors' faces drained of color, their confidence shattered, replaced with fear, regret, and a dawning realization of just how underestimated she had been. Grace turned to the family, her voice unwavering. "These are the truths you ignored, the betrayals you allowed, and now you see the consequences." Her allies, quietly nurtured over months, stepped forward, their support undeniable. The balance shifted, tipping decisively in her favor. Every subtle gesture, the pause, the look, the way she held documents, highlighted her meticulous planning. The room watched in awe as the once powerful aggressors stumbled, unable to respond. Grace controlled the showdown with a measured precision that was devastating in its effectiveness. I stood there, heart pounding, witnessing justice unfold like a script written for years, every detail intentional, every moment choreographed. Her dignity was restored, respect was earned, power, unmistakably, was hers. And then, a final remark, cutting, deliberate. "Let this be the last time anyone doubts me." Silence followed, heavy and complete. The tension lingered long after the confrontation ended. A vivid imprint of humiliation, triumph, and justice woven together. Watching her, I understood. Every ounce of suffering, every hidden tear, had been transformed into an unassailable victory. The room fell into a heavy, stunned silence after the confrontation. Faces frozen, eyes wide, whispers swallowed by the weight of what had just unfolded. Grace walked through it all with a quiet sense of triumph. Every step deliberate, posture unshakable, radiating a power no one dared challenge. Conversations shifted subtly in the aftermath. Relatives exchanged hesitant glances, reassessing their past behavior, some consumed with regret for the ways they had underestimated her. Legal resolutions were finalized quietly, her victory cemented without the need for spectacle, each paper and signature a silent exclamation of justice served. I watched, reflecting on the depth of humiliation she had endured over the years, yet the control she retained over herself and the situation never faltered. Tears, smiles, and subtle nods passed among her allies, acknowledgement of battles won and loyalty honored. The former aggressors avoided her gaze, each step away heavy with the realization that underestimating her had cost them dearly. Grace reconnected with estranged allies, rebuilding trust and respect in circles where doubt had once festered. Her presence became a shield, protective and commanding, a silent reminder that strength can be both gentle and absolute. I felt a shift within myself, absorbing lessons in resilience, patience, and silent power. Hints of vigilance lingered in her movements, small signs that she would not allow betrayal to take root again. Gratitude and admiration swelled within me as I witnessed the mastery of her justice, a precision forged in pain and patience. Peace settled into the room, tinged with the bitter memory of old insults, yet the emotional satisfaction was undeniable, lingering in every glance, every gesture. A quiet, unspoken victory that would resonate long after their echoes faded. My hands tremble slightly as I speak to the camera, heart racing, recounting every moment of humiliation, every calculated triumph. I describe the whispers, the smirks, the laughter aimed at her, And then I trace the journey of her unyielding patience, her quiet intelligence, and the emotional strength that became the backbone of her revenge. I reflect on how easily people underestimate those who suffer in silence, how a seemingly fragile exterior can conceal a mind planning years of justice. The lessons are clear. Resilience and strategy always outweigh impulsive anger. From witnessing Grace's journey, I have learned that dignity and composure are far more powerful than loud cruelty. I speak directly now, urging viewers to value patience, to recognize that true power often lies beneath quiet strength. This is not the end. Some lessons last a lifetime, I warn, letting the suspense hang in the air. I remind them, sometimes silence speaks louder than words, and patience itself becomes power. The camera lingers as Grace walks away, confident, every step measured, the sunlight catching her shadow, long and unbroken. Her story closes for now, but the impact, the awe, the fear, the respect she earned, will echo far beyond this moment. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to witness more stories where hidden justice prevails.